is 8 ranks per module. That's how servers can have multiple terabytes of memory in them. The trade-off, of course, is higher latency. Don't go thinking you can just mix and match, by the way. Consumer motherboards almost exclusively accept UDIMMs and not much else. And while some motherboards can support both RDIMMs and LRDIMMs, this is no guarantee. So check the manual for your motherboard for information on what it can handle before you pull the trigger. Most motherboard manufacturers will have manuals available online in their support section.
Storage drives can be divided broadly into 2 categories, old school SATA and PCI Express based NVMe drives. There are different connections for both of these, with this being the most common for SATA and this being the most common for NVMe. Your motherboard manual will include a list of these ports that tells you exactly how many you can install. Mechanical hard drives are for bulk storage on the cheap and typically use a SATA interface. We'll talk a bit more about these later. Solid state drives, or SSDs, are more expensive, but are recommended as a boot drive for your operating system and for key applications at almost any price point due to their much higher performance. They are available with SATA interfaces, but have mostly gone NVMe at this point in the M.2 form factor. Remember that term? It means size and shape. Even among NVMe SSDs, there is an obvious broad performance spectrum, and with Microsoft's upcoming implementation of direct storage, a premium PCIe Gen 4 SSD or greater might offer a clear performance benefit. But for most average users and gamers, the main things you want are a DRAM cache and some kind of manufacturer indication of endurance, which is a measure of how many times the drives can be written before the cells wear out. Drives with short warranties are probably best avoided, and even quality drives should be backed up regularly.
Now let's talk cooling. Enthusiasts tend to instinctively gravitate towards custom loop liquid cooling, and this is usually the absolute best you can get without going sub-zero, which isn't sustainable long term, if you're a coward. But from a cost to performance standpoint, it rarely makes sense. Liquid cooling is a topic all in itself, but the short version is that your primary concerns are going to be the water blocks and the total surface area of your radiator setup. Generally speaking, surface area is king. More fins on your cold plate means more heat transfer from your CPU, and more radiator surface area means the more heat you can remove from your liquid. Or, if you like more silence, the slower you can run your many fans. Materials are less intuitive though. Copper is the superior conductor, but it's more expensive than aluminum, which might make you think you could get away with copper for your GPU and aluminum for everything else, but if you try to mix and match them, it's gonna be terrible. I give you my Linus Tech Tips guarantee that galvanic corrosion will ruin your day sometime down the line. You can try out those anti-corrosion mixtures, don't do it, it'll be really bad. Some metals can be mixed relatively safely. Here's a chart of what's safe to mix and what's not. Most people don't want to deal with all that, though all-in-one solutions are both cheaper and easier to work with. The general rule is that a 240mm radiator is fine for most CPUs, but top-end CPUs with power ratings over 200 watts will want a beefier 360mm or 280mm radiator for full performance, or even more.
Oh God. It's so big.
The main drawbacks of AIOs is that they are more expensive, less reliable, and units smaller than 360mm often have questionable performance benefits compared to larger tower-style heatsinks. That's why, for most people, we recommend a large heatsink for hassle-free long-term operation. The only drawback of these is that due to their size, some consider them unsightly, they're wrong, and they can be a hazard during transportation due to their immense weight. At the end of the day, whatever comes of your CPU is fine for most people, but it might run hotter or louder than you want. Thermal compound for most people doesn't matter, as long as it's a decent brand and it's not some just bulk stuff you got off of Wish. But there are a couple things to consider. If you're not going with the easy to use but not thermally amazing graphite pads that cover your CPU like a cozy little blanket, you're going to want to make sure that whatever you get is electrically non-conductive, and the best way to do that is to just look at the label. Most companies exclusively carry non-conductive compounds, with the exception being liquid metal. Thermal Grizzly's Conductonaut, for example, is an actual metal alloy called Gallinstan that's fully liquid at temperatures as low as 8 degrees Celsius. It's both electrically conductive and potentially reactive with aluminum parts like heat sinks, and this reaction is not a good thing. While an aluminum oxide layer is usually present on aluminum, a tiny scratch or scuff is all that's needed for the gallium to work its magic, and turn your cooler into a crumbly mess.